Hello, Stampers. Welcome to Learning with Friends. I am Pat Fairless from Fairless Stamp and Flair. And learning, if this is the first time joining, Learning with Friends is a series that I do each Thursday morning at 10 a.m. And typically I show a technique. I don't make a complete card. I just show some sort of a fun technique that you can use in your card making. And then I show multiple examples of completed cards that have used that technique. I have decided that I'm going to make one little change at this point in my series. And on the last Friday of the month, I am going to try to share with you a fun fold. I love fun folds. They're awesome. They're interesting. Some of them can be a little bit intimidating, admittedly. But I'm going to give it a whirl. Now, I am not the world's fastest stamper. In fact, I might be close to one of the slowest stampers. So I'm a little bit nervous about this, that it's going to take me too long and you're going to get bored and lose interest. So I'm going to try to do it as quickly as I can without messing up, which I do all the time. But anyway, today I'm going to do the Twisted Easel Fun Fold. So let me go ahead and flip my camera down and let's get started. So this is the card I am going to be making with you today. This card uses the Thoughtful Wishes stamp set, and the and this die here is also from Thoughtful Expressions. The designer series paper is Thoughtful Journeys, so it is part of the suite of Thoughtful Wishes. And I had a really difficult time deciding which designer series paper to use. So I finally narrowed it down to two, and I made this card as my practice. And today we're going to make the same card, but with different paper. So let me just show you the fun fold first. It sits like this. So this is a great card to give to someone who loves to display their cards because it sits nice and flat, very stable. And this is what it looks like from the front. Hopefully you can see that. And this paper, I'm going to show you quickly what all the papers look like, but this is the opposite side of this particular design. And so let me just show you these because they are so beautiful. And if you haven't seen them yet, these are in the new annual catalog, which launches here in a week or so. So this is the one we're using today, and then this is the back side, which you can see I have here on my easel part of it, I guess we'll call it. But let me show you the others, and you can see why I had such a hard time deciding which one to use. They are all so beautiful. I love this one. And here's the backs. Let me show you the backs. The backs are all as pretty as the fronts. This one is gorgeous. This one kind of reminds me of winter. It looks like there's some little winter snow on the branches of our pine trees. And the next three are all very similar, just in different colors. They kind of look like you might be along a canal or a river or something, but aren't they pretty? And the backs are gorgeous as well. This one looks like Lake Michigan. If you sit and look out over Lake Michigan, that's often what you see. And this one, really, really pretty colors and very beautiful on the back too. This one was one of my top runners for today's card. Very pretty. This one I love. It looks like a watercolor painting with wild wheat on the back. Here's some more flowers. This looks like a pond to me, watercolor pond. And this one, I debated on this one as well. Both very pretty. The backside I thought was less striking than some of them, so I ruled that out. But this is what we're going to use for our card today. I love the colors. The back is really pretty. So we're going to use this portion for the easel and this portion for the inside, right-hand side of the card. This is just too pretty to cover, to cut in a diagonal. So I wanted to try to keep the part that had a stronger image on the base. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to show you, this out of my way for now, is, and I should mention, this is the tutorial for the card I showed. Not the one I'm going to make today, but this, I will upload this. There'll be a link at the bottom of the video where you can download this tutorial. They are all exactly the same. The only difference is the colors and the designer series paper. So they do have a template in here that shows you how to cut and score. And then for the card front, and the part I'm calling the card front is this part when it's closed, what it looks like. I'm calling that the card front. It has all the dimensions, describes which cardstock and what it's used for. And then on the back side, we have the instructions for the inside, which is this portion and these two triangle areas over here. So this will be available to download with a link at the bottom of my video. So let's go ahead and get started. This is the base. This card base measures 10.5 by 5 1/4, and we are going to score it at 5 1/4. And you don't have to write down or memorize these dimensions. Let me bring this down a little bit so you can see I'm over here at 5 1/4. I can remember to grab my scoring blade and not my cutting blade. All right, and then I like to fold this in half first before I make the next score, and I'll show why. Let me just go ahead and get these edges lined up and grab my bone folder and give this a good crease. And the reason I like to take this and look at this first, because now we know this is going to bend in this direction. If I use the card, the front is going to bend like this. So I know I have to score from this corner down to this corner. Or if I open it up, which is how my diagram shows it, that means it's from here. Okay, so if I show you the diagram, just so you can see this, it scores, this is with the inside facing up, it scores from this corner up to this corner. So let me bring back my paper trimmer. And hopefully you can see that. We're going to go in this direction. We're going to line this corner up with the groove in the cutter and this fold corner with the groove in the cutter. And then again, make sure I have my scoring blade, which is the lighter colored one, to score. I don't know about you guys, but I've grabbed the wrong one more times than I can count. And we are now going to fold this in. Kind of try to line up these sides if you can. It's not super critical if they line up exactly. And just give that a good crease. But that will sit just fine, as you can see. All right, so that is it to the card base. So let's go ahead and start with this front piece. This front piece, it's out of my way. This front piece is made up of two triangles. There's a mat and then the designer series paper. So we are going to cut these from corner to corner to make our triangles. The mat, background mat is 5 by 5, and the DSP is 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. Now the one thing I want to make you aware of, when you pick your paper, if like this paper there's directionality, I guess you could say there's directionality on this one. This side for sure there's directionality. You want to make sure when you're laying it down and it's laying flat together on your card that your image is facing up. So as you set this up here, your image would be facing up. You don't want it going sideways or something, that's my point. So you just have to pay attention which way you cut the diagonal. So bring back my cutter. Again, this time we're going to get rid of the scoring blade and we're going to cut. So I want to cut mine from here to here on this corner. So I am just going to line those up in that groove, those two corners, and cut. Okay, and with your mat on the back, It doesn't matter which way you cut it. It'll all work out. So just pick the corner and line up the opposite corner and cut. Okay, you're going to see how easy this is. All right, now this is going to sit like this on my card. So I want this piece down here and this piece up here. So let's go ahead and grab my glue. I hope there's enough glue in here. Feels like it. Usually I have an extra one handy, but I don't think I brought it over here today. So, and I found the easiest way to align these is to focus my attention on the sides, and if I kept those equal, then it came straight here too. Let's get the other one quickly on here. You like to make sure, I'm using liquid glue on these because I really like to make sure that I get some in the corners so that the corners don't lift up. Okay, and again, I'm going to focus on the two sides, or the top and the bottom, and then the angle comes up perfectly. So, all right, now all we have to do is adhere them to the front of the card base. See how easy this actually is? Once you get this card base completed, you can decorate them any way you like. And I have some additional cards I'll show you so you can see some alternatives. And you'll probably have some even better ideas. So again, I try to focus on the sides. And the good thing about liquid glue is there is a little forgiveness, although mine never slides very well. Everybody always tells me you can just slide it. I don't know. Mine doesn't always slide that well. Maybe I don't put enough on. I'm not sure, but if I put too much on, then it mushes up the sides. Do you have that problem? I have that problem with liquid glue. That's why it's not my go-to glue. That and my fingers get all sticky. All right, we're going to focus here on the sides again. And there we go. Other than decorating, the front of our card is complete. Now, before I start decorating, I just kind of like to get my pieces out of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and get this mat on here. Here I can use my Stampin' Steel if I choose to. Sometimes the stuff fails me too. Maybe it's just me and glue. Yeah, I haven't played with glue much as a kid that I recall. All right. Let's get that centered nicely on here. There we go. Isn't that beautiful paper? I just can't get over how beautiful this paper is. I love it. Thoughtful Journey, it's called. It seems like Stampin' Up! Has been coming out with more and more of these beautiful scenery type, scenic. That's the word I was looking for. These scenic papers. They're so pretty. And the nice part is you don't really have to do much else, right? So, while the card's nice and flat, let's cut these and stamp these. So we need, again, because this is going to fold, we need two separate triangles over here. Now I'm just going to use plain basic white, and this is 4 7/8 by 4 7/8. And again, we need to cut this at an angle. I'm going to move away for a minute. So I'm going to grab my paper trimmer again. And we're just going to cut this at an angle. And again, because this is a solid piece, no direction, it doesn't really matter which way you cut it because you can twist and turn it. Oops, it slipped. You can make it fit. If you cut it, if you were to cut it this direction, it still would be fine. All right, now you probably noticed I had a little bit of decoration on my insides. I like to decorate my insides, so we're going to do that next. I know this is probably backwards. Normally I don't do insides first either, but once I attach the focal point, then it becomes more difficult to do this while it's flat. So I am going to do my sentiment. We'll do my sentiment first. And these are thank you cards. So let me just move these out from here so that, and I'm going to use Cajun Craze. That's the color of my mat. You could use any color. You could use your black memento. Now, I do into, I think, heavy ink. So I always look at the back of my stamps after I ink them and make sure if I have ink on the edge that I wipe it off, or I will get a line. So let's just go ahead, stamp that there. That's good. That piece is done, ready to go in. And we're going to do a little bit of stamping on here. I'm going to bring in a piece of paper because I'm going to be kind of stamping off the edge. So just to keep my desktop a little bit clean. Now my two colors are the Cajun Craze and the and I'm using wild wheat. My card base is wild wheat and my mats are Cajun Craze. So I'm just kind of sticking with that color scheme. And I'm going to use this large leaf stem here from Thoughtful Wishes. This is the stamp set that I'm using. I'll show you this. Thoughtful Wishes. It's new in the new 24-25 annual catalog, and I'm going to use this stamp and this one. And I also use the sentiments from here. I use the Appreciate You. So I do better about not getting ink on my edges if I flip it over and ink my stamp like this. And if you can see it, there's still a tiny little bit of ink right down here in this corner. So I always keep a paper towel or something handy. And let's just go ahead and put this on here. We're just trying to zhuzh it up a bit, we'll say. And then I'm going to put the other stem I showed you, just this stamp here. We'll do this one in wild wheat next to it. And let's try this way again, see if I can keep it off the edges. Tap, tap, tap. That's what I've been told. But sometimes I must tap crooked. So then I will just wipe it off. It may or may not show up, but I'd rather not take the chance. So I'm going to put this next to it. I'm going to just overlap it. Just a tad bit, not a lot. Okay, I like that. Turned out fine. So now let's go ahead and add it to the inside of our card base. If I can find my glue again. Green glue, you guys call it green glue. And again, I'm using this mainly so I can get it out on the ends, on those points, because otherwise, with the Stamp and Seal, it's hard to get. If you get it out on the points, you've got it kind of all over. So again, I'm just going to watch the outside edges for the most part and line it up with that. It seems easier to get it straight if that's where I look as opposed to if I look at the diagonal. It may work better for you to watch the diagonal, I don't know. Do whatever works best for you. Right? That's what we all should do, is do what works best for us. Mm-hmm. Okay. So other than the little stopper that we'll add at the end, that is done. So let's go ahead and make our focal point here. Now I have gone ahead and I've already die cut the basic white piece. This is made with the, one of the thoughtful stamps, it's or dies, Thoughtful Expressions dies. This is the one that has the hummingbird in it. Gorgeous, gorgeous bundle. And I love the dies. So we're going to use this, and this is what we're going to build our bouquet on. So I am going to first stamp that same large leaf stem, is what I'm calling it, with Cajun Craze. On here. Okay, and then we will die cut it. And voila, I've already done that. Now the reason I wanted to show you that is the first time I did this, I did not stamp it. I thought, well, I'll just die cut it, it'll be fine. And it was fine, but then this is kind of what it looks like, if you can see that. And I thought, even though I stamped it in the same color, so there was tone on tone, it just did bring out the detail a little bit more in the stamp. So I did like to go ahead and stamp it. And then there's another die. I can show you the dies if you'd like to see those. These are all the dies that come in this Whole Wishes bundle. You can see those. This is a large, beautiful, kind of like a swooshy, ferny thing. Some little leaves. There's a little flower we're going to use. This is the die I used to cut the Cajun Craze stem. There's the one for this one I made with wild wheat. There's not a coordinating stamp with that. There's another one that doesn't really have a coordinating stamp. And then there's several leaves. So this might be easier to see what the bundle is actually like. There is one die in here that does cut out. I think that actually, if you stamp this stamp here, this die cuts that out. So there is a die for that one. So let's just go ahead and build this on here. Doesn't matter a lot where we put things. On the initial card I showed you, on this one, I glued this directly to the white, and I think I would like to have it popped up. I think it would just add a little bit. There's a fair amount of room back here for some small dimensionals. So I'm going to try that with you guys this time, is to pop it up and just see how it looks. I may have to cut some pieces, but we'll go within the fatter areas first, see if I can get away without having to cut too many. All right, so let me take my paper snips, and I'm just going to cut a couple of these here, just so I can add maybe one over here, and one more down here, and that should be fine. I'll take off these backings. It's a brand new sheet of dimensionals, and I haven't colored it with my highlighter yet. Makes it a little more difficult to see. Okay. I think I'm going to like it popped up, and then I'm going to put this directly on there. And I did not bring a sponge, and I am going to, that is how I would normally add the adhesive or add the liquid glue on the back. I'd put a little dot on my silicone mat, and then I would just dab that with a sponge. But I do not have a sponge over here. So we'll just take this and add a tiny little bit. When I have items like this, I usually just kind of focus on the center. I don't put much out on the ends because I like those to stay loose and be able to lift just a little bit. And that way you get a little bit more dimension to your project. So how about right about here? Let's hold that in place. And then I also die cut one of those little flowers out of this new color, which is peach pie. And it needs some liquid adhesive too. Need my sponge. One of these days I'll remember to bring everything over here. Obviously that's not today. Okay. And typically I will kind of just pull on things on the tips a little bit, just to give them a little bit of lift. Adds a little bit of dimension to the die cuts if you do that. And you know what? There is one thing I did forget to do, and I don't know if I can still do it. I would have to get it. No, we're just going to leave it. One step I did on the other one that's not very obvious is I did take a blending brush and just color a little bit behind here. And I was going to pick up a little of the Highland Heather. Maybe I'll just touch the edges with this just a bit. We can do that just to add a little bit of, take away a little bit of the starkness on this white. I can probably pick some of this up. We can just add it around the edge a little bit. It was very light on the sample I showed you. I didn't want it dark, but I just wanted to break up the starkness just a tad. So this works. We just added a little bit around the. You don't want to come in and go down on it and have a big blob. So I'm tapping off where I can. There, so I don't know if you can see that, if it makes a difference or not, to just add that tiny bit of Highland Heather on there. And now we attach it to the card front. And I found the easiest way is just to lay this down, and I centered it on the card, and you can obviously go whichever way you want. I would kind of put it where I thought I'd liked it at a little bit of an angle, and then I would pick this up and see what it looked like when I looked at it from the front. So I kind of like it right about there, which is just a tiny bit of an angle. And I eyeballed to remember what I could do is just take a little bit of a pencil mark, and we can come back and erase this, because you only want to get your dimensionals, obviously, down here. So let me mark the back side where I marked it on the front, so I know where to put those. And we will add some dimensionals on the bottom. Make sure I got the bottom. And I keep these below there. Now, the other thing I found handy is just put one right here in the middle on this side, because we know we're putting this in the middle. So now I got pretty much 3 across that line. And then I can just fill in down around here. Since it's kind of hanging out in space, I'm putting a few extra on there than I would if it was just laying on the front of the card. So I gotta make sure I had those. I feel where they are. That was right out there. And I can erase this little pencil line, I think. It's very light anyway. It's pretty much in one of those little holes that are from the die cut. So now all we have left is we need something here to hold our card up in place. And we are going to make a sentiment And I'm just going to use the thank you sentiment. And I will use, again, Cajun Craze. I could use either Color Lovely or Cajun Craze. Cajun Craze is a little bit darker. I tend to use darker colors for sentiments more often, just so people can see them. Okay, and now we need to die cut this, and I am going to use a Thoughtful Expressions die. These are the same dies that I used for that white piece on the front. Here are the dies. These are gorgeous dies. I love these, all these shapes. We're using the smallest one of these little fancy circles. And let me bring in my mini Scan cutting box, and we will just die cut that real quickly. Could have done that beforehand probably, but since I didn't, we will die cut this here. And I'm going to lay it so these two bigger points are to the side. That way I have a little bit more room for my words. Okay. My sandwich here is plate 1, plate 2, then the cardstock and die, and then another plate 2. And I know I've mentioned this before. A lot of times it's hard to get these through. So if you just sort of stagger them just a bit, I move it, I'm afraid I'm going to move my die, which I did. Yep. All right. We will try that one more time. Okay. And I'm going to keep this one back a little bit, just so that they are staggered. It doesn't want to stay straight. I need some washi tape or something to hold it. So if I pick this up, you can see, for the most part, I have the first two staggered, the last one's not. I think it'll be okay. Yeah. All right. It's a tiny little die, so it doesn't take a lot of pressure to get it through there. And I didn't do a very good job of showing you how I stagger them, so let me just, normally I would put plate 1 down, bring this one so it's back just a bit, and then this one back so it's back just a bit more. So that as you feed it in, it's gradually increasing the thickness. And that way, it feeds through the minis very, very easily. Okay, so now we're just going to kind of guess where we want this thing. I guess I want it to stand about right there, so I can eyeball where this is. I could bring it out a little bit if I wanted. I think we'll just put it in this little sand dune right here. This does look like sand dunes, doesn't it? So pretty. Yeah, I love this paper. I just can't get over how pretty it is. And I'm going to do my best not to hoard it. I am the worst hoarder of beautiful designer paper. I don't want to use it because then it'll be all gone. But at this point, I can buy more because it hasn't even been released yet to the public. So there we go. You put that on with dimensionals, that gives you just a little bit of height to help hold that into place. And there we go. All we need now are some gems. What color? We have these new in color gems, and I used this little peach pie color on here. There's some peach on here. I have these, or I have some that I believe are Highland Heather or Fresh Freesia, which is the color in the sky, which is the purple. What do we like best? Oh, I like the peach pie. Plus that they sparkle. So, all right, let's just add a couple of these. I'm going to use the bigger ones. They come in. Maybe I won't. It's kind of crowded over here. Maybe I'll just use a little one over here on this side, and we'll put 2. There, that adds just a little sparkle. And then we need some sparkle down here on our sentiment. So we'll add one right about there. That way you see that when it stands open on display. So that wasn't too hard, was it? That's a pretty easy easel fun fold. Twisted easel it's actually called. I guess because it kind of twists. So that is our card. I did make the envelope ahead of time, if I can find it in my pile of junk over here. Man, I do have a lot of junk over here. Oh, okay. All right, so when these pieces of paper are 4 3/4 by 4 3/4, and the size you start with is 6 by 6. So you do trim some down, and if you kind of pay attention to where you're trimming and how you're trimming, try to get at least one full-length 6-inch strip in one direction or the other, and then you can use that to decorate your envelope. And I had another strip going in the opposite direction, so I added that to the back of my envelope flap here. And I sadly learned that these 3D and basic embossing folders, my favorite, this one right here, they are retired. So, or are retiring, I probably should say. So there's the card we made. Now let me bring in, told you I had a couple others. I have to find them in my stash of stuff. So much junk. If you could see my mess, you'd be like, wow, get this out of the way so I have a little bit more room. Clean out some of my scrap stuff, right? Oh, you don't need to look at that. All right, do I have all the junk I've cleared out, or can you still see junk? I don't know. I hope I've moved most of the junk. So here's the first card. This is a card we used as an example. Like I said, these are both exactly the same, just different designer series paper. I'd love to know which one you like the best. Which one's your favorite colors? And this one I used some scraps as well, just to do the sides of the envelope here. So there are those two. Let's set them all up. You're looking at them from top down, so don't know how easy that is to see. Probably not too easy. Now you can decorate them. I also made one out of the Be Mine stamp set. These cute little bees. These were first in the spring mini, and so this one opens like this. Cute. And on the inside, I added another little bee. I thought I was going to put 4 out here, but they took too much room, so I ended up using 1 in here. This designer paper is part of that set, but it is also retiring. So there's that cute card. And then I have one here that's a little more on the elegant side, I think. This uses the twisted, or actually the Thoughtful Expressions stamp set that I used these dies from. These dies here that I showed you that I used for the card today. This is the stamp that is from that set. This is just designer series paper, cut out from designer series paper. And then this is the, what is this designer paper called? It is called Nature's Sweetness. So let me flip it here so you can see it. I did stamp the hummingbird on watercolor paper, and I colored it with watercolor painters. But this was just fussy cut out of the designer paper. It's a little die from that same stamp set. And then the inside, I cut out a couple additional pieces out of the designer series paper. So very little stamping on this card. Hopefully you can see that. Okay. So those are the 4 cards we have today. Let me flip back and all right. Oh, I made it. I don't know how long it took me. Was that really long? If it was, I apologize. I try to be fast, but I don't want to go so fast that it's hard to follow too, because sometimes that makes it difficult as well. So I hope you like that card. And like I said, once a month now, the last Thursday of the month, I am going to try to do some sort of a fun fold. If you have a fun fold that you would like me to try, put it in the comments and I'll see if I can do it. If it's too hard, I might not. I don't know. Anyway, I'm so glad you're here. And thank you for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, I hope you give me a thumbs up. If you're new, welcome. So happy and excited to have you here. We love learning together. That's the whole goal of this, is to just be able to try to teach some tips and tricks that I've learned over the years, and maybe have you take a little bit of advantage of what I have learned. So have a great weekend. We are already in the last Thursday of April. Hard to believe. This month has flown by, and my house renovation is still not complete. But we're getting there. We're getting close. So maybe one of my videos, I'll have to do a house reveal or something. It's been a long process, but I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you watched. Have a great, wonderful rest of your day and have a great weekend. And we will see you next week with something else. Have a good one. Bye-bye.